And that was, of course, before we had a recession.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
I mean, if we'd known that, we'd been in an even worse state of mind.
I mean, the credit crunch, when it hit, we did try to promote organisations like the bureaus,
yes,
and Volunteer Cornwall, who were very much in the kind of front line of that fight against the recession, and who were seeing the effect on their services.
Volunteer Corps host organisation is a body that uses volunteers in their work. So it can be anything from a residents association to National Trust to the hospital, and we help them recruit volunteers, we help them develop volunteers, we help them volunteers move on to progress as well. We've got a big transport project where we have 300 volunteer drivers taking vulnerable people and children around. We do about 2 million miles a year in Cornwall. We've got our first time bank being set up in St Austell, which is about mutual aid. So where usually volunteering is about helping someone because you want to, time banking is about you helping someone and you bank an hour and someone then can help you with something you can't do. So it's about mutual aid and reciprocity. It's essential that we build social capital. Social capital is where people take responsibility for themselves and for others. So therefore by helping others you're helping yourself. And I think that's going to be the big issue over the next 10 to 15 years.
What we do have is a wider third sector than maybe some of us imagine.
Yes,
It involves community interest companies, social enterprises, cooperatives, are all now part of that. In other words, the not-for-profit, what's called the not-for-profit area.
I think the term that people are beginning to use, this sort of social purpose organisation, and they're talking now about civil society, which is kind of back to a kind of where I feel comfortable, because I'm never that comfortable with the whole idea of third sector, we're there to provide services for the public sector. I'm much more comfortable with the idea that we're part and parcel of the fabric of society, and that, anybody who's got a passion can get together with some of their friends or colleagues and set up a charity and do good, and that's what it's about. It's not about being controlled or top down. It's very much kind of bottom up, and it's about celebrating the diversity of our sector. We're accused of being fragmented, but I would say that our diversity is our strength. It's what makes us dynamic. And one of the challenges for the forum is making sure that we continue to represent, we continue to be inclusive. And like you say, for me, we've still got a lot more work to do. And one of the things that I want us to focus on going forward is engaging more with the community networks that have been set up under the new council arrangements, and seeing if we can support the volunteering community to be more involved at a local level with those arrangements, and to make sure that they have the opportunity to feed back to the wider sector. And I think, our message that actually if you look after the people and the place, as well as the economics, that you have all sorts of knock-on benefits which ultimately result in not only a better society but actually a more productive society. And at a time when the state doesn't have any money, it seems to me that that's a key selling point for us.
The message that I'd send to the public sector.
The message I would give to the public sector.
I think that the main message is getting local people involved in how we are designing the service that they have and how they can support delivery is essential.
Basically, you don't know how much work we actually put into the place. That has to be done voluntary, that you do get paid for.
That the voluntary sector can actually fetch a lot of added value into Cornwall through the people that they represent and the volunteers that they're able to establish.
That since the withdrawal of the low and the moderate bands from adult care and support, we are getting an increasing number of requests for helping elderly people.
Well, Cornwall Rural Community Council and particularly the Community Buildings Advisory Service will support the objectives of the local authority by supporting the organisations such as Community Buildings, who then go on to have such a diverse range of activities involved inside that they're going to be addressing priorities which are local and national government.
The funding is due to run out in April 2011, and it is not certain at the moment whether Penwith Powers will be able to continue.
I think too often we separate organisations from people, and we also separate public service from the people that the service is on behalf of. So I think we've got to look at things differently in the future. We've got to develop a different way of working, and that means looking at who controls what and who has the power, and sort of breaking down those barriers so that we're more inclusive.
Just don't forget young carers, because they're a really important part of the community, and quite often as young people they're forgotten. And I think it's so important today that we recognise what a responsibility they have and what an important role they have in their home.
I'd really like to encourage the public sector to first be very aware of the benefit that's delivered through community buildings, and then to invest in that benefit, because often the voluntary sector is very well placed to deliver these types of community benefits, and they offer excellent value for money.
Just basically to be treated like the others do, who are actually government-led. Just because this isn't government-led doesn't mean that we shouldn't have the same funding that other private sectors do.
When they take in isolation certain elements of work, they need to look more broadly than that and make sure they understand exactly the full width of support that's going into a community, be it supporting volunteers with Volunteer Cornwall, be it supporting carers. There's lots of other implications of things that hang on rather than exactly the specifics of their directorate.
Cornwall is a well-established charity in Cornwall, and we promote voluntary action across Cornwall. So basically we try and get local people to get involved in volunteering in their community, to support each other, to support vulnerable people, and also basically to enable people themselves to get experience, skills, to progress in their lives. Yeah, we work with approximately 1,500 host organisations across Cornwall.